Hello again from Fired Up. First, hit the like button, share this page with your friends, and leave a comment. This will really help our ratings on the internet. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related politics, and self-defense issues. Fired Up is on my website, Fired Up with Bob Irwin, as well as the American Guns and Glory Network, YouTube, and numerous other media. If your local internet provider doesn't carry Fired Up, ask them to do that. A new show is posted every Thursday around 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Our audio is rebroadcast for radio listeners on Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. Check out KELY1230.com for the station in your part of Nevada. If you have questions or comments, you can send me an email to bob@firedupmail.com or leave a message on my office recorder, which is 702-257-1060. Again, that's 702-257-1060. If you would like a call back, please leave your number or an email, and I'll do that. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms each week in the United States, rarely truthfully covered by news media. I always select a few for my listeners' information. Most are good shootings, some not so good, but all are educational for those of you that keep a defensive firearm at home or carry one out in public. Remember that individual incidents are adjudicated under local law, so opinions given here may not apply in the area where you live. Advice from a local gun-knowledgeable defense attorney is always recommended. I usually paraphrase stories for clarity by translation from police jargon, lawyer speak, and regional accents into more common American English. And the incidents are as reported, with the names of the participants deleted. The names of the cops, the lawyers, and the media are generally used. First up, as is our habit in these last few shows, more federal restrictions on Second Amendment rights are coming up. Biden, Harris, Schumer, and the rest of the anti-firearm left has again vowed to eliminate so-called assault weapons from possession by residents of America. The Democrat-led New York Senate moves quickly when it wants to do so. Yesterday, the Senate passed a string of gun control bills, which included Senate Bill 13 and 14, which are ghost gun bills that do nothing except misdirect attention toward hobbyists by employing scary terminology. A ghost gun is an invented term designed for the sole purpose of pushing gun control. These bills had already passed the Senate, but they were recalled from the Assembly and amended. After all, how can you expect people who know nothing about guns to get it right the first time? Now we've got Senate Bill 1235. It creates a 10-day waiting period for the purchase of any firearm. Waiting periods are an old, ineffective gun control scheme that, for the most part, have all but disappeared from the country. New York Senate Democrats apparently enjoy revisiting failed ideas, and they passed this bill on Wednesday, 2 days ago. Then we have Senate Bill 1048A. It's a piece of legislation that contends illegal use of a firearm is a public nuisance and attempts to hold manufacturers responsible. Rather than hold criminals accountable, the anti-gun Democrat legislatures are looking to scapegoat the entire industry and deflect from years of failed New York gun laws that they have authored. The elimination of the Lawful Commerce in Firearms Act will make manufacturers liable for subsequent criminal acts over which they have no control. They are still liable for defective products, of course, and carry insurance for that. There will certainly be no insurance available for acts committed by a criminal misuse of any products. This will close down the entire industry in short order. Unbelievably, there are still more that they're trying to do. S 4116, the microstamping bill is on its third reading calendar in the Senate and could come up for a final vote at any minute. Microstamping does not work, it is easily circumvented by criminals. What the bill does is create a complete ban on new traditional semi-auto handguns because it requires that working microstamping be in the guns. And microstamping doesn't work, so hence no new guns. Anyway, general story number one. NBC Miami reports May 30, 2021, a man is in the hospital in critical condition after a woman he tried to attack shot him. The Miami-Dade Police Department officers responded just after 2 in the afternoon to 163 Street Mall, that's near North Miami Beach, after reports of a shooting. When police arrived, they discovered an adult male with gunshot wounds. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue transported him to an area hospital in critical condition. The police say the preliminary investigation revealed that an adult female was in her vehicle when the male approached her and began to bang on her window and then attack her. As a result, she shot him. Miami-Dade concerned violent weekend could signal a trend. Put that all in caps for some reason. The Miami-Dade concerned violent weekend could signal a trend. Comments for details, but few details appear to be in traffic robbery. When a motorist is stopped at a signal or behind a traffic jam, the perp walks up and smashes the window out of the car to gain the keys or whatever valuables are inside. Quite often the motorist is beaten or even murdered. This is really common in New York City and large parts of California, Oregon, and Washington State. My latest book, Self-Defense with Firearms, Use of Force in Nevada, is available on Amazon Kindle for less than $5. You can check it out. Watch this short commercial. My latest book, Self-Defense with Firearms, Use of Force in Nevada, is now available on Amazon Kindle for $4.95. You can download it now. It contains examples of dozens of shootings and pointing a firearm cases that I personally experienced in my 24 years in law enforcement, or where I testified in court or deposition as a firearm and use of force expert. The book is about the use of firearms in defense of yourself and others in my home state of Nevada. I have appeared as an expert witness in Nevada courts dozens of times, and that experience has shown me the necessity of putting pen to paper once again. Nevada state law as printed can be misleading to those of you who read it, as it is written in legal jargon, what I usually call lawyer speak. These statutes are also bent or even broken by the courts in their everyday decisions that we generally call case law. Those are rulings that say this or that statute does not apply in a particular incident and similar cases. That causes the law you are depending on when you make a decision to use your firearm only partially or not apply at all to your actions. Relevant Nevada statute numbers are included here and there, so readers may look up current wording on the Nevada State website. Teaching firearms in 28 law enforcement academies, including cadets from 26 different Nevada agencies, personally instructing over 30,000 concealed firearm permit students and 20,000 private security officers, I've discovered a lot of commonalities in deadly force incidents. Less than 100 pages, this book offers advice that can save lives and costs of expensive defense lawyers to reduce your losses in the inevitable civil lawsuits that follow these incidents. Get a copy, learn how to avoid, prepare for, and react to life-threatening situations. The real book looks just like this. It's just less than 100 pages. You can read the whole thing in 2 hours. There's advice here that if you read through it will save you perhaps losing your home or losing your life. There's lots of information here that you need to have if you keep a gun in your house. Get one. Amazon Kindle. Now, story number 2 here comes from ABC4, a journalist named Addie Blink, a cute name, Addie Blink, reports May 26, 2021 in Ogden, Utah. A 41-year-old male suspect is in custody after allegedly trying to kidnap an 11-year-old girl. Ogden police were called to a local elementary school Tuesday after a teacher was able to stop the attempted kidnapping. Lieutenant Brian Enon, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Brian Enon, said the Ogden Police Department, said an employee was watching the kids from inside and observed a suspect walk up to this 11-year-old girl on the playground and put his hands on her in an apparent attempt to take her. The employee ran outside and confronted the suspect. At the same time, the girl had the ability to pull away from the suspect. Police say the 41-year-old suspect then approached the building and began punching the window in an attempt to force his way inside. That's when the employee, a concealed carry permit holder, produced a firearm and held the suspect at gunpoint while calling 911. Lieutenant Einon added the officers arrived quickly and took the suspect into custody after a brief struggle. The suspect was high on some type of narcotic. Investigators say there is no link between the would-be kidnapper and the young victim. The employee is protected under the Second Amendment. He followed all policy and procedure at the school, and in this particular case did everything he should have done to protect the innocent lives of the children at the school, said the lieutenant. And after this case, it is likely that a life was saved or an injury to a life was prevented due to the actions of the heroic employee. Lieutenant Enon, I'm never going to pronounce that right, sorry, Lieutenant, continued, this teacher was very prepared emotionally to confront the suspect he didn't know, and that was most likely on drugs, could be dangerous, and could have been armed. And he took it upon himself to protect her and be a hero to the children who are on the scene. Ogden School District's Jer Bates commented, a teacher intervened when there was a situation that threatened the student's safety. This teacher, this school district employee, is a hero. We don't disagree with that at all. Yes, it was a very scary situation, something we take seriously, but it came out with a good ending, meaning no students were physically harmed, no adults were physically harmed, and this incident where emergency response required, this was an incident where emergency response protocols were acted out. At this time, to the best of our knowledge, the student is coping quite well, considering the very traumatic experience that they endured. The school district brought in counselors to help the students deal with the trauma, including the 11-year-old girl. This 41-year-old suspect has been booked into the Weber County Jail on one count of child kidnapping, a first-degree felony. Police say more charges are pending. The teacher was able to get all 20 students off the playground and into the school. Comments here, arming teachers actually works. There is no way, with even an incredibly fast response time, this young victim would not have been harmed. Utah has a great training program for civilian concealed carry. I taught this course for several years before my retirement. So I know what I speak. This is a good program. I highly recommend their training. We're going to break here for a short commercial. I'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't go away. Freestyle Martial Arts, located at Jones and Russell here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-551-9009. That's 702-551-9009. CCS Gunsmithing. Chris Eifelt, the man who does all the NRA help, he's at 2216 South Rainbow Boulevard near Sahara. He can be reached at 702-365-1732. Once again, 702-365-1732. Jerry Creed, a trust attorney. If you have a firearms trust or need one, this is your guy. You can reach Jerry at 702-806-7777. That is 702-806-7777. CCW Maggie is found all over the internet. You can reach her by phone at 702-375-5900. That's 702-375-5900. All sorts of firearms training, ladies only classes. She is the best of the best. Call CCW Maggie. Story number 3. The Miami Herald, a journalist named David Overall, O-V-A-L-L-E, reported June 1, 2021 in Miami-Dade, Florida, 2 men walking their French bulldog after a visit to Miami's Midtown shopping center were confronted in broad daylight by an out-of-town robber. It turns out that the robber and both victims were armed. When a tussle and a gunfight stopped, the armed robbery had been, when the tussle and gunfight stopped, the armed robber had been shot 11 times. One of the robbery victims was shot in the shoulder. A third man survived shaken but unscathed. The manager of the nearby PetSmart agreed to take the French bulldog overnight as police investigated the shooting outside the popular shopping center. Comments here: just walking your dog makes you a crime target in areas of southern Florida. Fortunately, the dog walkers were armed and could defend themselves against this armed robber. Apparently, just about everybody in southern Florida carries a firearm. We're going to break here just for a moment for a short word from some of our friends and associates. I'll be right back. Attorney Donald J. Green, a common guest of mine on Fired Up. He can be reached at 702-409-8239. He specializes in gun case litigation. He is your man. Don Green, 702-409-8239. And Battlefield Vegas, my new kind of home for this show. They're on Circus Drive, directly behind the Circus Hotel and Casino. You can find them there with CCW classes and an amazing place for gun rentals, everything you could possibly imagine. Check out, if you're in town as a tourist, check out battlefieldvegas.com. And we are back. The Miami Herald reports June 1, 2021, a 26-year-old father told Opelika police his son begged him to drive by a home where young people were gathered Saturday night so he could fire his paintball out of the car window. The father told the TV station that several children were taking part in a paintball battle when they ended up in front of the home where the shooting occurred. The boy was apparently leaning out the van's open side door, shot several rounds before the homeowner came into the yard and fired one shot which struck the child. The homeowner confused the paintball for real gunfire, telling police he thought his family was being attacked. He fired one shot from his real firearm, which struck the child. According to the arrest report, the father then started to drive away. The boy fell onto the pavement, and the rear wheels ran over his legs. According to police, the father then drove the child home, and his mother called 911. The Miami Herald reports the father was charged with child neglect with great bodily harm. According to a police report, the father acted recklessly by agreeing to conduct the drive-by paintball shooting. No additional details as to the child's injuries or condition were released. It's not clear if the father had an attorney who could comment on the charges. Comments here: perhaps the homeowner could have reacted by staying inside and just calling 911. However, it appears to be one of those everything happened at once cases with little time for deliberation. Often media and police report an event in sequence when things actually happen all at once, and we read the narrative in sequence. Last word, the young boy is expected to make a full recovery, and all came well. Getting involved, well, I understand what the father did, and he's in lots of trouble, being charged with all sorts of things, and certainly there will be a civil lawsuit over it from some of the kids that were traumatized by this act. That's it for today. Be sure to watch our disclaimer to gain a better understanding of how these stories are put together. Time constraints prevent going into all the details, so we just hit the high points. We assume all perps are innocent until convicted in a court of law. I'll be back next Thursday on my website, firedupwithboberwin.com, the American Guns and Glory Network, and numerous other websites, television, and radio stations. When watching any media, again, please click on subscribe so new shows can be sent to your computer or phone automatically each week. You can check out my recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. It contains several dozen episodes, and my logo merchandise, hats, shirts, and books are available at Battlefield Vegas, just behind Circus Circus on the Las Vegas Strip. If you are ever in Las Vegas, Battlefield is a must-see attraction. That's it for today. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next week on Fired Up.